to episode 4 of my great guitar build of scratch build. Today I will show you how I do my fretboards, and these are Indian rosewood fretboard blanks purchased from Logemann und Weibel. They have their head office in Mannheim and selling exotic woods all around the world. These rosewood blanks, Indian rosewood blanks, were personally imported by René Logemann from India. Thank you. They look beautiful. So it's time to plane these fretboard blanks, and I invented kind of my own way to plane them, because if I do this with my hands there would be a bend in the middle of the blank, because the surface would not be flat while pushing too hard with the hands, with my hands on the blank. So with something like a neck blank you can see here, which has a little bit of more weight glued on top of the fretboard blank, helps to spread the weight evenly over the fretboard blank, and so the planed surface is absolutely flat, and I can go on with the thickness planer. I have to admit that this is not the safest way to do this, but it works for me since my latest builds, and I've never had an issue with fretboards blank with a slight bend in them. So here you can see the final result. I'm pretty happy, and I've selected this blend from out of 4 others, so this is a special one. For the next steps, it is important that the fretboard blank is absolutely rectangular, so I've also planed the sides and made this one rectangular during the process of thickness planing. Also, having a 90-degree, absolutely 90-degree angle on the sides of the fretboard is important. So here you can see me doing this on all 4 fretboards. I prepared them for my further guitar builds. So now take a closer look how beautiful they are. 4 fretboard blanks already planed and perfectly square and rectangular, so I can put them on my fret slot scale length template. I'm going with the 25.5 inch scale length because I like the shorter scale length a little bit more. It is important to mark your center line on the sides of the fretboard, because the template has also a center line, and later on you line this up, the center line on the fretboard and the center line on the scale length template. So now it gets interesting. I am going to cut the fret slots with my old Metabo table circular saw, and for this I have to change the blade because this blade is a little bit too rough for this step. I have a special designed blade from Rall Guitars and Tools. Thank you, Andreas Rall. This blade has teeth. They are 0.6 millimeters wide, so this fret slot is wide enough for my chest cuff. Fret wire with a 0.53 tang and 0.88 barb. The exact height of the blade is pretty important, because when the fretboard is radiused, the fret slots could be too shallow. So important step to go. Let's say in the end you have 6.5 millimeters height, then I go with 4 millimeters fret slots, or 4.5. So I triple checked if my fret slots are absolutely square, and now let's cut them. So this is how I do my fretboard radius with a Guitars and Woods radius jig for a 12-inch fretboard radius. I'm using a straight solid carbide router bit. This solid carbide router bit leaves a pretty good smooth surface, so later on I'll just have to sand the fretboard with a 12-inch radius sanding beam with 180 and 240 grit sanding paper. So here it is important not to cut too much material during the routing process, so go just 1 millimeter steps. This is enough, otherwise the Indian rosewood could break, or some wood chunks could break out. That would be very annoying, especially if the fretboards are already cut through the fretboard. Perfect 12-inch radius. So many ways lead to the goal, and this is how I do it now. Maybe someone can tell me a better way, but for now I'm leaving the way of a rectangular fretboard and glued it on the neck template, so I can trim the sides of the fretboard, and if the fretboard is trimmed I can glue it on the neck, already trimmed neck blank. Some guys leave the neck blank rectangular and also the fretboard blank and glue the already radiused and thread slotted fretboard onto the neck blank. I don't know where are the pros and where the cons are, so if somebody knows better, please write me in the comments. I would appreciate it. Talking about fretboard inlays, here you can see me deciding whether to do inlays or not to do inlays, cutting inlays out of mother of pearl or using pre-cut inlays. And I think that this Indian rosewood is really beautiful, so I thought about doing dots. I mostly do dots, side push to the side of the fretboard dots, because they are easy to do and look okay to me. But then I thought to do something special for a great guitar build-off and go with my self-designed mountain inlay. And mostly if you do just one inlay on the fretboard, you do it on the 12th fret, but I decided to do this to put this inlay in the middle of the fretboard, and this is the 9th fret. So a pleasure to cause confusion here for all the guitar playing guys. Personally, I just need a side dots for orientation, so Sadly, I have to admit that I forgot to film the process of glue the fretboard onto the body plank. Or it could be possible that my camera wasn't working at this time. But it's a pretty normal process of putting some Titebond glue onto the neck plank and hammer in some index pins through the fretboard and through the neck plank so that nothing could slip away during the gluing process.